Uh, I joined Leadership of Quality in King Saud University last year. And when I joined, Dr. Mahmood introduced me to IACA and introduced me to different papers and activities of IACA. Last year I could not manage it because I was new in King Saud University, but this year I decided to participate, and alhamdulillah, I have been presenting my papers and sessions in different international conferences, but trust me or not, from the first day when I reached here, I did not feel myself strange or aloof or cut off. It was a very warm welcome. Everybody, even not knowing Arabic, understanding only, but everybody was so welcoming. And at every lunch or at every dinner, I found somebody discussing with me or asking about me and my background in Pakistan. I'm from Pakistan, working for King Saud University. Basically, the idea of this session, I've been working in quality assurance for the last 6-7 years in different capacity. The major problem that I've found in most of the higher education institutions is that either they are forced or they are pressurized by accreditation bodies, no matter local or international. And then the job or the ball goes to faculty member, the one who is never exposed to quality assurance. I'm sure most of you will be teachers first and then QA professionals afterwards. In some cases, we find rare examples of pure trained quality assurance professionals. So when the ball goes into the court of the teacher, they play the way they want. And finally what happens? They send reports to accreditation bodies and then they receive a long list of observations. In King Saud University, we are using a part of Barledge system that I'll be introducing very soon. Dr. Mahmood, who was the General Secretary of the previous conference as well, was with me, but he is busy in his one of the meetings today at this time. So I took his floor as well. Please feel free to note down your questions. I'll be happy to respond. And if there is any question in Arabic, we will certainly find somebody to translate it for me and I'll be able to respond to it. First of all, look at the series of observations that I'm sure some of you must come across on day-to-day basis. The first is, there is no training available, by the way. Formal, structured training for quality assurance in higher education. And getting the benefit of this, business industry invaded and they introduced balance scorecard, they introduced PQM, they introduced ISO, but all of them were the attempt to tailor as per the needs of higher education, but in most cases, these are the people who are not familiar with education. And people who are familiar with education like you have not either been trained or if you were trained, you were given 1 week, 2 weeks training. Recently, Australian University started one Air Force graduate program in quality assurance in higher education. But it's so expensive that most of us cannot afford to attend it. So the first thing is, the environmental scan says that there is a lack of training of QA professionals. Then multiple accreditation bodies and QA bodies with a long list of requirements. Like some of you were mentioning, you must have come across words like graduate competencies. You must have come across the word learning outcomes. You must have come across the word learning objectives. And then there is always a confusion that learning objective, learning outcome, program objective, program outcomes, matching the two or mapping the two. Do you think this would resolve the issue of quality? I think on the first day somebody asked that quality should come first and there should be efforts for that. But the question is, when you talk about curriculum, you clearly mention that learning outcomes should be developed first. Isn't it? Learning outcomes should be developed first. If you are familiar with OBE approach, outcome-based education, it simply says decide outcome first. Now talk about this quality efforts and all the effort that we have been doing for the last 4 days. Do we know how to assess the outcome of such trainings, such conferences? Do we have any framework available with us? Then the third question is, apparent variety in requirements, as I told you before, NQF, in some cases, a generic and national qualification framework is produced, and then everybody is asked to match the program outcome with NQF. I'm sure you will be aware of the fact that qualification register is a different thing, qualification framework is a different thing, and domains in qualification framework have some theoretical framework. For example, in case of Saudi Arabia, in Saudi Arabia, they have taken knowledge with different domains, but knowledge separately in their NQF. Now, faculty who come across Bloom taxonomy of learning is always puzzled that Bloom taxonomy clearly states that psychomotor domain, affective domain, and what domain? Third? Cognitive. But they have separated cognitive with knowledge, and they say knowledge and then cognitive domain. Now, those who are running after that accreditation are always puzzled with the difference in terminology. Finally, IQA system. When I say IQA, my session title is also using validate for internal quality assurance. IQA is not standardized. What you are practicing at your university is different from the practice of other universities. Or, if there is one accreditation body, all of you will be running for that accreditation, and IQA will be based on that. But in case of King Saud University, 64 accreditation bodies are there. Just imagine 64 different programs getting accreditation from different bodies. If there is no uniform IQA system, how would they maintain IQA? Because this is one of the requirements of accreditation. And finally, lack of access to resources such as American Evaluation Association. How many of you will be the member or are the member of, say, program evaluation bodies like AEA, program evaluation bodies in Canada? And how many of us differentiate between quality assurance and program evaluation? We talk about quality assurance, but how do we assure quality if you are not familiar with how to evaluate program? Do we say that accreditation body's job is to decide it? No. Being the quality assurance professionals, it is our job to go for that. Then, why there is a need for international quality assurance, internal quality assurance? QA department has to assist. You see, if you are a member of quality at your university, you have a multiple job. You have to deal with pharmacy, you have to deal with nursing, you have to deal with humanities, arts, physical sciences, natural sciences, geophysics, geology, a series of. For example, at my university, I did my PhD in standardized testing. When I receive a report from geology department, am I capable of evaluating it? If you review the members of Association of Program Evaluators, you will find somebody is geologist, somebody is physicist, somebody is masters in English. But they know how to evaluate program, regardless of contents. Then, what happens when your departments apply for accreditation? The first report comes to you, if your QA department is verified. In my case, in our university, I, Dr. Mahmood and our colleagues, we are involved in giving initial feedback of the reports. So, we need to have some system for IQ. What are the available models for program evaluation? I may not be able to discuss them, but I'll be happy to share with you at least a list. So when you get back to your work situation, you may choose one of them. For example, using CIPP model: context, input, process, and product. Now, if you want to evaluate any report, CIPP model is extensively used with variation in different contexts. You must conduct trainings in your university. How do you evaluate training? Through a feedback form? Do we have any standard training, standard procedure for that? Kirkpatrick model is available. That divides training into 4 segments and then decides whether the training was effective or not. Finally, I heard about this EFQM practices. Some of you may be familiar with it. EFQM offers a standard system for evaluation of programs. And finally, valid model that I have chosen. There are many more, but these are the most significant models which are available. I have divided my session into these 6 domains. Please feel free to note down your question, because I believe at the end of this session, we'll be having a very healthy discussion, or at least you'll take some message with you using the resources that we'll be discussing in a couple of minutes. So this is the entire structure of my presentation. I wish I prepared one handout for a workshop. I thought there would be a round table discussing with you, getting your feedback, providing feedback. And this is not instructing or directing somebody. This is sharing of good practices that we are doing at King Saud University and inviting you to review if you find it useful. Now, what is Balance model? I have provided everything in the resources that were sent earlier. You must have got a copy of it. It recognizes your organization in business, health, education, and non-profit sector for performance excellence. Malcolm Baldrige system for 4 significant domains. It is administered by the Baldrige Performance Excellence Program, which is based at and managed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology and Agency of the US Department of Commerce. If you just write this, National Institute of Standards, you will reach to where they have given everything about their system, including a very thick book on IQA. The program and award was named for Malcolm Baldrige. Who was he? Who served as United States Secretary of Commerce during the Reagan's administration from 1981 to 1987. So this is just the background. What is Baldrige model? Who started it? In 2010, the program's name was changed to the Baldrige Performance Excellence Program to reflect the evolution of the field of quality from a focus on product, service and customer quality to a broader strategic focus on overall organizational quality called performance excellence. The whole picture. Earlier their focus was customer satisfaction, like we do, student feedback. Their focus was on services that which are rendered or given to the students, like we do, but then they change it to make it a holistic picture of performance excellence. Now, just think of the situation. You receive one report from one of the departments. This report may have been written for ABIT. This report may have been written for Association of Business Accreditation Body. This report might have been written for Dentistry Accreditation Body. What would you do? What do we usually do? Usually we receive the report, we see the compliance, and then we give our feedback. In case you are removed, somebody else comes. Where is the system? System was here and you are removed. If you are removed, where is the system? This Baldrige model focuses on 2 things. When you read a report, there are 2 things all the time. Either there is an explanation, isn't it? There is an explanation, like ABIT. What is your mission? What is your vision? How do you link it with the program? So, either there is some description or there are some results. This is the most important point for the next 1.5 hours. If you differentiate between the 2 systems, you can follow. I repeat, every report has got either a description or some results. Description Baldrige says process-based, process-focused, and results it says focusing on some tabular data. Like somebody in the previous session focused on learning outcome, and they shared with you the mapping of learning outcomes with the courses. At the end of the session, we'll see how we should look at that table. Whether it is as it is or there is some flow used for it. Now, as I said, process-focused responses based on some qualitative aspects. And how do you make sure that your mission is used? See the example. How do you make sure that your mission is used for decision making? Now, how do you make sure? Somebody writes, right? When you read it, on what criteria are going to judge? This is the question that we will be discussing. Then, how do you achieve the learning outcomes of the students? And you produce a table or you explain, then you explain courses. There is a long description, right? The second thing is, what is result-focused statement? Result-focused are very simple. In reports, you will find such tables. Student dropout rate, students enrollment, graduation input, graduating students input, graduating student feedback. All these things are included in the report. Graduating students, alumni, employers, these are the results, right? This is the crux of the matter. Baldrige divides the scoring. I see the title of the session. How do you score anything under Baldrige scoring system? So the first thing is you have to divide it into two: process focused and result focused, right? And those who are answering, when you are reading it, you need to differentiate whether you are focusing on criteria, on process or results. Beginning with the first one, that is, let's see. When you say let's see, very common in English, let's see what happens. Remember this LETCI. Everything is given in your material. So you don't need to worry about the details. But as I told you, there are results in every report. As the head of your department, if a teacher's course evaluation comes to you, what do you do? The normal question is, why did it drop? Why did it increase? Why is it consistent? Etc. Secondly, numbers we don't interpret. Then results refers to your organization output, and outcomes, two different things, output and outcomes. In achieving the requirements in areas where result is focused, 4 factors, as I said, 4 factors. Look at these 4 factors. Let, LE for level, T for trends, C for comparison, and I for integration. Now see, I'll take example of each and then we'll see whether you come to the same, we come to the same conclusion or not. Beginning with levels. Suppose level refers to your current level of performance. For example, your current academic position and your number of courses and your number of trainings and your number of, say, student supervised, all numbers, level. For any number, you need to decide the progression level. You understand my point? See, if I say student dropout ratio, student teacher ratio, what is that student teacher ratio at your university? Say for example, it is 1 to 25, right? So what? Does it make any difference? You say, I compared it with, say, Harvard University. But so what? Will you be stable at Harvard? Or you have decided level of progression? If you decide for any number, all the heads of departments sitting here, whenever you receive any report, decide the levels and communicate to the department or ask the department to decide the levels. What is the desired progression level? For example, in our case, if you look at this, there are 5 levels given here. Level 1 beginning from 1 to 50 and above. Level 5 below. Level 4, a little better. Level 3, far better. But, is it the end? There are levels. For example, you may decide that we have to reduce it further. And I am sure you must be aware of QS ranking criteria. They do require student-faculty ratio. So if you don't decide in your report, you cannot interpret it. Secondly, coming to trends. What is trend? Trend, I'm sure you must be familiar. Trend simply means in 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, there are different results. But the question is, It's your own conclusion that you draw, right? Based on this, if you look at this, the figures are dead. How do you define them? You define them under a certain heading, stating that, okay, first year it was this, second year it was this, third year it was this, and yearly we are achieving this, and we are meeting the levels. We are 2 points away from our level, we are 3 points away from our level. So trends are always available within your reports. But what about comparison? What is comparison? When you decide level, okay, student teacher ratio should be 1 to 25 as a medium range, but we have to reach to 1 to 15 ratio. There comes the question of what is the comparison with you? Who is there? Who is your benchmark? For example, ZUI University, local competitors, international competitors. What is the level of reference? So comparison is always there. But the last, but not the least, if you look at this figure, competitor 2 has got a line, competitor 1 has got a line, but our university is still below the competitors. Now, two possibilities. Either you set the wrong competitors with due homage. You are expecting too much. For example, I came across a report in which faculty publication average was 0.5 or 0.7. And their benchmark was 8.5. Their 3 years report says they never increase more than 1. On what basis do you decide your comparison? Coming to the most important one, and which is common to all, putting everything into one goal, performance excellence. What is integration? Let me first explain to you, then we can come to the definition. Just imagine. Faculty-teacher ratio is very good, but student dropout ratio is very high. Then is there any use of having less student-faculty ratio? No, not at all. If your graduating student's response is very bad about the quality of program, but your students' outcome results are excellent, you will certainly see that students' learning outcome results are in the hands of the teacher. Right? Integration says that all the results should complement each other. They should not move away from the mainstream. And if they move away, it means there is some fabrication, some tailoring done. You know tailoring? Some modification. So if you look at this, look at this. 2 departments, Department C, Department B, or criteria 2, criteria 3, results are consistent, but yellow line is quite below. Now, as an evaluator, your first question should be, for example, course mapping is there, right? Student learning outcomes are always determined beforehand. But the question is, do we attain quality? In most cases, the answer may be or maybe not. We don't have integrated approach. Malcolm College clearly states that no matter you decide the level, no matter you decide the trends, no matter you have got good comparison, if it is not in the mainstream, it's useless. For example, your department does lots of efforts to produce students' outcomes, but if they are not consistent with, say, second department or third department involved, then overall quality will not be that good. So, these are the 4 levels of evaluating any figure, any number. So, one piece of suggestion. Once you receive any table, any data within a report, ask yourself, have they decided any level of progression? Just imagine, 2011 it was 5, 2012 it is 7, 2013 it is 9. So what? Trends are there. But what was the aim? What was the level decided? Right? Now, this is a worksheet. I had to put this worksheet on urgent basis because I thought that we'll be sitting in group, we'll be discussing this worksheet. Now, what you can do, if it is readable for you, then we can discuss. Valorich has divided it into levels. Now, just imagine there is one table given. You want to give your feedback on that table. Look how easy it is. The language is written there. The first is 0 to 5%. It does not mean you can give 4%, 3% to no. Either 0 or 5%. Simply means what? You clearly say there are no organizational performance result and or poor result in areas reported. Now see the language. No results or poor results. 5, 15, 20, great fluctuation in levels. Number 2, trend data either are not reported or show mainly adverse trends, declining, not going up. Comparative information is not reported. Notice they are giving you 5 marks out of 100 because comparative data is not reported at all. Trends are adverse. And finally, results are not reported for any areas of importance. 3, 4 factors. Results reported, but they don't correspond to each other. Very poor scoring. But if you go to the second level of scoring, now see, you are reading the report, you found 2 or 3 tutors. Now what you are saying? A few organizational performance results are reported, few, out of 20, suppose required for 20, responsive to the basic requirements of accreditation body. An early good performance level, a little progression. And then some trend data are reported, some trends. Little or no comparative information, little. Now see, from 10, 15, 20, 25, little. And finally, results are reported for a few areas of importance and not all. I am not going to discuss all of them, it's with you. I'd like you to have a quick look only. Look at the results, 30, 35, 40, or 45, and see how language shifts, how language changes. The most difficult thing for any QA official is to report. How to report? Trust me, it's very difficult. Sometimes the departments are offended. Why did you write that? For example, if you write, department has not provided the results of the student achievement. Very odd. If you say, department is performing not so good, has no meaning. If you decide to use this scoring sheet, and trust me, it is not necessary that you are implementing Balrich system. What you're doing, you're just taking Balrich scoring system for your own context. And trust me, for any accreditation body, when you give feedback in this form to your department, they may set their priority. If you tell them, okay, student outcomes are reported for each course, give us a tabular form and decide how would you plan to increase it. You know, I wish there would be a day when results come to you and you say yourself, reports have no meaning. And trust me, in most cases, even in the most famous universities in the world, I have come across reports of many universities. In most cases, they lack consistency because they don't have any system. Now, moving to the next, these are the scoring stages. Last stage, if you look at the last stage, you will notice that excellent organizational performance levels are reported that are fully responsive to the multiple requirements. Multiple requirements simply means under one standard there are multiple requirements. Beneficial trends, increasing trends. Then evidence of education sector and benchmark leadership is demonstrated. And finally, organizational performance results and projections are reported for most key, say students, stakeholders, market, process, and action plan requirement. These last 3-4 areas of coverage, you can replace them with your own standards. whatever standard that you're following. Now, let's come to the question of how to do it. In one slide, we try to attempt this. Let's see is used in totality. Please remember, you cannot do it that levels are reported and then you forget about trends or comparison or things. It is always addressed in total. So when you write a comment, you don't need to say level, trend, comparison. You may simply say, the program has not decided the progression level for the data provided. It has also not provided 5-year trends analysis, not trends, trend analysis. And no comparison has been set. And finally, different tables, table 4, table 7, table 9 are not consistent in the results. See how interesting it is. You are not using it directly. What you are doing, you are translating it for your own purpose. So, use the scoring sheet. What you need to do, if you just come to the score sheet, can you please come to the score sheet? Let's see score sheet, please. I'm sorry the page number is not there, but let's see is given, I think, second last page. Yeah. This. Now, I wish we had this time. If I ask you to come to the last page, read the table and just mark it. It will take 5 minutes, but trust me, this would help you a lot. Last page is an activity sheet. If you look at the last page, there is a table given. What I request you to circle this result sheet. So, try this if you can. Because that would give you a clearer idea of what is required in validation. Last page, there is a table given. In that table, you will find this is year and dropout rate, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, 2010, 2011, 2012. Right? You will come across this table very often. How would you interpret it? And usually this table is given with few statements only. If you just mark this worksheet, looking at this table, where would you place the report under these 5 levels? 0 to 5%, or 10 to 15, or 25, 20 or 25%? Just quickly give your remarks. Not remarks, just circle it. The last page is exercise, but second page will be marked. Second last page. Result sheet is given here. 71 is written in the bottom. This is a sheet which you should make multiple copies, say 50 copies. Whenever any report comes to you, just circle. I place it in 20%. I place it in 30%, 40%. And then you don't need to worry. Comments are written here already. You just need to understand that. Yes, where did you place it? In what category? First, second, third, fourth? Anyone? By the way, did you get the exercise what I'm asking for? Okay, last page is activity sheet. In activity sheet, you will find one table. This table or similar table will be solved with this page 71 scoring sheet. Please forgive me. This is something that needs to be done practically working together. I wish I could do it. But even if you mark it and if you just tell me where do you place this table, what percentage do you give it? Second or third? But there is a big difference. You have to decide either second or third.
Second.
Yes. Where do you place it?
Second.
Second? Good. You know why? Because there are no other tables given. For example, some of you may ask, How can we interpret this table if we don't have many tables with us? Many means dropout rate, graduating students satisfaction rate, the student course evaluation rate, For integration, you need multiple tables to comment. Number one. Number two, for trends, only 3 years trends are given with no explanation. Then, no comparison given. So this table is a dead table. Dead, no line. Even if you give it 5 marks, faculty is offended, no problem. But this is a dead table. When report comes to us in our department, we usually say this, that there is no life into this. Simply because tables have no meaning, tables have no interpretation, and if interpretation is given, it is useless. Can we take a 5 minutes question answer for let's see only? Because at least is a little difficult. For let's see, if anything is not clear, please feel free to ask.
If there is improvement in the process,
Yes,
the dropout rate
yes,
is decreasing over time
yes,
and reaches 5%,
yes.
clear.
But this is what you are saying. Did this table say anything? It is only table given.
It's compute.
Exactly. You need to, the second important thing, please look at this table and now tell me, where does this department want to go? What is the level? You understand my point? Is this 5% satisfactory? Or they want to reach to 3%? Or they want to reach 2%? No level given in this table. So, it's a horrible presentation of data. My apologies. I have taken it from a live source. Come to the next one. This was the exercise that I planned. That you have to review the table given in the handout. Use Lexi worksheet and score it. Also write few comments based on your observation. For example, that gentleman said there is no explanation given. It means this table is useless. In NCAA, they categorically say, when you present a table, interpret. In interpretation, you have to decide where you want to reach. And then remember, please note this, remember your comments may not be that professional. Your review would be structured and to the point. Even if you are new to the quality assurance, if your feedback is based on this, let's see, it will be structured and to the point. Moving to ADLI. ADLI is one of the dishes that is available in one of the part of India. ADLI. A-D-L-I. Very simple. Approach, deployment, learning, and integration. Now, first of all, let me explain in the most easiest way. Then we go on to formal discussion. Let's take an example. Can you please come to the last page? Last page. Exercise, activity worksheet. May I request you to read standard 5.4. This is available on net. One of the accreditation body has given this standard. This is the standard. These are the two requirements of the standard given below. I will request you to please read this standard response, what they have responded for this specific standard. Without knowing anything, just read it. Three, four, 5 lines. explain, date, and sometimes they refer to some evidence in appendix. Right? This is a typical example of any self-assessment report or in any given context. If you are following Jordanian system, Saudian system, International Agency for Quality Assurance, or business college, business education body, dental body, most of them require you to write a report. Right? Now, if you have finished it, let's come to the first. What is approach? There is a question. Define how you achieve a student's outcome. Right? Okay. Before we discuss this structured definition, my question is, or my point is, when you are responding to students, program outcomes or program objectives, and you are writing at the end of this program, the students will be able to do this, under the heading of program objectives and not outcomes. Right? What is your immediate response? This is not asked. Program objectives are different from program outcomes. This approach in responding to this question or this statement is not correct. When we say approach, we simply mean to say how the standard has been addressed. For example, the pure definition, approach refers to the methods used to accomplish process. The process is the question. Here, by the way, standard that you read, this is the process. Now, what approach has been used? Now, look at the example that I just asked you to read. How is the approach by you? Is the approach correct or less correct? Or what are your observations for the approach? I mean, are you satisfied that they answered what is asked? No. They are talking about something which has not been asked. So approach is not based on what is asked. Look at the features. Approach should always be appropriate. Approach should always be effective. And approach should always be systematic. For example, very simple example. If you say, students' learning outcomes are assessed through multiple ways. Course evaluation, program evaluation, quizzes, assignments, final exam, presentation, 6, 7, 8, you list all. Do you think this answers the standard? No. If you are listing down everything, which one is used for what? For example, graduate competencies. When you say, I'm sure you must be familiar with this idea, that program objectives are long-term assessed through different tools, right? And when you mention those tools, you don't get it mixed with student assessment at course level. I'm sure you must be familiar with that triangle in which on the top, program objectives are set, then program outcomes are set, then course outcomes are set, then lecture outcomes are set. Setting down from the top to bottom. But when you are assessing, you are going from bottom to top. But it does not mean that faculty is held responsible to assess program outcomes directly. Not at all. So approach simply means, is it consistent? If you are mentioning 30 or 20 or 15 evidences, but they are not matching with each other, it is inconsistent. So notice, appropriate, effective, systematic, and innovative. Now see, is there any innovation? It is a mere explanation of what is asked. And now question. If I were the evaluator of this report, I would simply ask 3 questions. Number 1, what approach has been used in this? There is no approach systematic. Is the approach systematic? No. And is there evidence that approach is effective? Is there any evidence? Did you find any evidence here? You did not. You cannot find any evidence. They have talked about it, but there is no evidence. Even if you say evidence is attached in Appendix C, you know, almost 10 reports I reviewed which say that Appendix has the evidence of this, and they never supply the evidence. Never. And when the accreditation agency says, we are coming on that day, they start preparing for evidences. Oh, this, collecting evidence. Remember, it's always a reverse approach. Here is the evidence. Now, talk about the evidence, whether it is appropriate or not, whether this is systematic or not, and whether it requires further evidences or not. So this is what we call approach. The second thing is the problem with most of the higher education institutions, to be honest. They have a very colorful wording, very good narration. When you write in English, you are better than Shakespeare, writing in a very good language. But does it reach to the faculty or not? Is it deployed, reaches to the, or is it